Thank you for joining us here on the National Communications Network. My name is Shakuan Gill, and I have with me in studio the Minister of Labour, the Honourable Joesph Hamilton, to discuss some recent events happening right within the vicinity of the Ministry of Labour. Minister Hamilton, thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Minister, today we saw the protest take a different location, and a protest occurred outside of the Ministry of Labour. Apparently, they are requesting your intervention in the mediation between the Guyana Teachers Union and the Ministry of Labour. What have you gathered or garnered from all of this that is ongoing and the request to get yourself involved?
Okay, so we begin from where we made a point, that is Ministry of Labour, writing the Teachers Union that, listen, as far as we understand it, the two parties are still engaged. Mm-hmm. The PS of the Ministry of Education was shocked that they were seeking, they were calling on the Chief Labour Officer to enter into this conversation to mediate and conciliate when they were still engaged. Mm-hmm. Whilst the letter was sent, there was still engagement. As Minister Manikchan said, up to Wednesday, Thursday, before the strike happened, during when they sent out the missive threatening a strike, they were still engaged with the Ministry of Education. Right. And that is the point the Public Service, the PS made since last December, that they were shocked. They're calling for conciliation, mediation, when they were still engaged. The two parties are still engaged. So I learned since yesterday that they would have moved their protest action from the Ministry of Education to the Ministry of Labour, and subsequently this morning I learned that again. What was important today is that if you look at, and when people review the footage mm-hmm. coming out of what transpired in front of the Ministry of Labour, you would see that maximum politician and political type impose themselves on this protest or this picketing exercise. So you had senior politicians who were part and parcel of the protest. The first set of people that arrived at the ministry in front and breakdown were PNC types, some of them in their green UPNU t-shirt, and a lot of them that is known professional protesters, so to speak. And so it was more PNC, UPNU, AFC dominated, controlled protest activity. This morning, they spent about 3 hours there. And that is the point we are making, that the Teachers Union got to decide whether indeed they are representing their members or whether they are doing the political biddings of the opposition. Mm-hmm. And so far, everything that they have displayed suggests that this strike is not about the negotiations between them and the Ministry of Education. So now I suspect that they are seeking to have the Ministry of Labour enter into this conversation to mediate, but our position stands the same, that as far as we know, the other party has indicated and continue to indicate that we are still in discussions. They put before us 41 items. We have honored 60% of it. And some of them are thorny issues that we have to work through, procedurally and otherwise. One of them is a request to grant 13 duty-free concessions to executive of the unions, which is a no-no. So I suspect that the strike will take a different turn on Monday. Like it has started today where the focus will be now, in my view, the Ministry of Labor. Because I suspect the GTU, they have found themselves in this box. And they would be pushing to have, hopefully, the Ministry of Labor, the Chief Labor Officer, extricate them from where they find themselves. Of course, you would know issues that got to do with the teachers and the payment. All of those things are coming now. Today is what, the 9th? So I suspect even teachers individually are paying attention to payday that is going to come and what has transpired as regards what their likely pay will be. Because as I have said before, and I reiterate, if you abandon your post, your employer is not obliged to pay you. You have abandoned your post. Why would they pay you? And let me make this point again, because people are attempting to treat this controversy differently to other activities in the labor arena. This is an employer and representative of employees like any other strike. And I want people to understand that. So the procedure as regards the labor laws and labor relations procedure, it has not changed. It cannot change. It will not change. It can't change to satisfy one sector of the population. The law is for everyone, and it speaks to what are the procedures, how you get from point A to point B as regards the labor laws and labor relations issue. What must happen to kick in number 2? What must happen to kick in number 3? And going down. And if you reach this stage, I think we're at number 4 stage of arbitration. That is not an imposition by anyone. The parties can impose arbitration on each other. Neither can the ministry. It is 2 parties, after all the phases are worked through. And everything is lost as they see it, both sides. And then for that. So we can't rush. And people apparently, they believe that if they come and scream long enough in front of the Ministry of Labor, and the minister and the Chief Labor Officer will take action, that will not happen. Because our position is, and it was borne out today, that this activity is a political activity. It might have started where teachers indeed were prosecuting their grievance, but this now is a political activity. And the people, I'm sure when you look at the video footage, you will see the people who were spokespersons outside the Ministry of Labor this morning, or the political types.
I mean, I wanted to ask you specifically about that. At one point, you hear that it's not a political strike, and then on the other side, you see several political activists controlling and being at the helm of these actions. What do you really make of that?
Well, it's not new, Look, the PNC, APNU, whatever they call themselves, the fact that they cannot present themselves as a government in waiting, they have to create conditions for confusion to stymie development and progress. That is what is happening here. It's not, however they do it, with whoever they use as pawns in the little play. Opposition parties that are worth their salt, they always present themselves to the population as a government in waiting. With programs, plans, and everything they have. This opposition bunch, they see themselves as people who work to create confusion. And by whatever means, they will do it. And that is what is playing out. It's not the first time we have seen this being played out in this country. We have become accustomed to these matters, I suppose. And that's why some people, some teachers, a lot of teachers understand it that way. You would see teachers making the point this morning, some of them allowing themselves to be interviewed. that I don't know what the GTU is. They have never done anything for me as a teacher, even though my money is deducted and going to them. I have had difficult circumstances. They have never come to my aid, to my assistance. As teachers are saying that. And therefore, I have seen no reason why I must support this GTU strike. Another important thing, when I was coming here, I am reading the Demarare's post about interview with the first vice president of the union, who's a total pathological liar, because he is saying that all their financials are up to date. The last report of the ministry, last financial report, had the Ministry of Labor is 2004, 2 decades now. They have not submitted, as the law require, their financial statement to the registrar of trade unions. So imagine this guy stood in front of the camera and lied. He knew he was lying. Because you will know, yesterday the vice president spoke to this matter. Yeah. He spoke to this matter with documents in his hand. That they have failed. They have not done that. And the law requires that they must do that. So for 20 years, they have not done that. And, the law speaks to failing to do that. What should happen?
And that is exactly what I wanted to ask you. What are the consequences that come from
Well, if I pay strict attention to the law talks about any trade union that fails to submit their audited financial statement to the registrar of trade union can be struck off of the books. That's what the law says. So these people are shameless that they would lie. When you have the documents, you have the information before you. He says they're okay. That's what he told Shabral. They're all right. I just spoke to my chief labor officer that he validated what he is the person who has all the documentation regarding all the issues around here as regard registration of trade unions and who is reporting and who is submitting audits and so. I think it's the last audit report. The last audited statement from the GTU was 2004. We're talking about 20 years ago. So he says, the guy, that apparently they don't have an obligation, because he is saying once we go to the general members meeting and we tell them of how we spend money, that is some total of what we must do. And I mean, the ignorance is so terrible that this young man, whoever he is the first vice president, and he have no understanding about his responsibility. He's saying, okay, once we go, rightfully or wrongfully, we present some numbers to the Congress, that is the end of it. He seemed not to understand. To qualify as a trade union, you have to be recognized by the Trade Union Recognition Board as a process. And for you to qualify, there are some stipulated things. And when you qualify and they give you a certificate, they require that you must do things continually. So that is another lie that they have put out there that I have to respond to, so that people will not be taken in by these falsities from these people.
So going forward, Minister, as you said, you expect these protests to take a different turn in the new week.
Yes.
Just for reiteration's sake, what is the position of the Ministry of Labor, the Chief Labor Officer, and yourself in dealing with these protest matters that may continue outside of the Ministry of Labor?
The Ministry of Labor position remained the same like it was last week. It was when the strike started. Listen, the intervention you're asking for us to do, we're not at that stage yet because the parties are still locked in conversation. The other party has been acquiescing to your demands. They have already made good on 27 of 41 demands you made. So you can't properly say there's a breakdown of talks. You cannot. But the GTU, they have some specific issues that they want to champion. That is executive. One of them is all of them want duty-free concessions. Imagine, just think about it. And I'm talking to teachers here. These people really care for you. That here they come to negotiate on your behalf. And in the package, they include 13 executive members must get duty-free concession. The government must grant that. Are they really negotiating for the teachers or for themselves? And those are the questions teachers they have to ask themselves. Now, the Coretta McDonald has said that the issue about teachers being out of work and the issue about they are likely not to be paid is a non-issue because she has corporate sponsor that will support them to ensure teachers are paid. I heard some people chanting about somebody got their back. So, that kind of thing. Let's see. Let us see. The law is for everybody. And the Ministry of Labor, the Minister of Labor, the Chief Labor Officer, we continue to hold strictly to what the law says. And that is where we're at before the strike began and this afternoon, 9th of February.
Minister Hamilton, I want to thank you so much for spending the last few minutes with me discussing and detailing all that is happening in relation to the Ministry of Labor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.
You've heard from the Minister of Labor, Joesph Hamilton, and we hope that you continue to tune into the National Communications Network as we continue to bring you live updates on current events here in Guyana. With that being said, my name is Shaquan Gill. Goodbye for now.